Hello everyone. In today's video, I want to share with you our 3-day Waldorf-inspired math lesson exploring the quality of number 2. Now, even though I take 3 days to explore each number, I feel that stretching it up to 5 days may be more suitable for most families. I want to also clarify that I am no way a Waldorf purist, and also be aware that parts of my lesson include religious Islamic ideas and views. So without any ado, let's get into the video. So today we're going to be learning about number
2.
Right, number 2. I'm going to draw a big number 2. Does anyone know or can think of something that's in nature that there's 2 of? What is there 2? Because remember number 1 there was 1 sun, there was 1 moon, there was 1 median, there's 1 nose. So now in nature, what is something that there's 2 of?
Eyes.
Eyes, yeah, well that's on yourself, right? 2 eyes.
2 arms, 2 hands.
Right, 2 arms, 2 hands. Mariam, what do you have 2 of?
Hands.
You have 2 hands, right. Do you have 2?
Feet.
2 feet, you cutie, yes, 2 feet.
I have 2 ears.
2 ears, right.
2 ears. I have 2 brothers that are twins.
You have twin brothers, you're too clever, right. Twins is 2. You know what else is 2? Things that are opposite. They always come in 2s.
Well, it's 2 of yourself when you look in the mirror.
Well, yeah, there is 2 of yourself if you look in the mirror. What's the opposite that you can think of?
Opposite of what?
Of something. Anything that's opposites of each other. What about nighttime and daytime?
What?
See? When it's nighttime and then there's daytime.
The moon and the
It's
day.
2 of them, right? Those are opposites, guys. All right. I have a story for you of number 2, okay? There was a little girl walking in her garden with her mother. And then they were playing hide and seek. And the little girl went to hide in the bushes. And when she was hiding, she turned around and found a little nest. And can you guess what's in the little nest?
A little egg.
A little egg. Look what I got here. I got a little nest with a little egg. You want to pass it around? And the mother said, that's a little egg in there. It's going to be a little bird. And she was so excited. The little girl said, I really want to see its mommy. Can we wait and hide and see when it comes back? And the mother said, of course we can. So they waited and waited and waited, but the mother never came back. And the little girl was so sad. She said, what's going to happen to the poor little egg? Can't we please try and take care of it? And her mom said, okay, we'll bring it in, but I can't guarantee that it's going to hatch. So they brought it inside, and they put it in a nice warm spot right next to the fireplace. And every day she turned the egg around, because you have to keep spinning the egg around. It can't stay in the same spot, or else it won't hatch. So she turned the egg every day very carefully, and she was so excited for it to hatch. And one day she saw a little crack in the egg, and she said, Mom, the egg's broken. And the mom said, no, that's good. That means the little chick is starting to get ready to hatch. And then the little chick came out. They fed it the little syringe every day. And that little chick loved to eat. It was always opening its mouth, its beak like this. Feed me, feed me. And one day she went straight to the little bird, and the little bird wasn't there anymore. And she was so sad. She said, Mom, where's little bird? They looked and looked and looked, and they couldn't find it. And then she saw something flying in the sky.
The bird.
What was it? It was little bird. But little bird isn't little anymore. Little bird is big now and flying.
Mother, then he go to mother.
See? You want to see little bird? You want to hold it? That's little bird. You can smell it too. And the little girl didn't understand. How can little bird fly? And the mother said, because little bird has 2 wings. Allah made the birds to fly. If I flap my hands, can I fly? And mother said, no. Allah made you have 2 hands and 2 legs, so that you have hands so you can hug, you can hold things, and 2 legs. What can you do with your legs?
Yeah, you can walk.
You can walk. What else can you do with the legs?
You can run away and swim.
You can run. You can, you use your hands, your 2 hands and your 2 legs to swim.
And
Allah gave you everything you need and nothing you don't need. So we should be so happy with what Allah gave us. So see, number 2 is for 2 wings as well, right? For the birds in the sky. Let's look up and see if we can see any birds. Oh, there you go. There's a bird. And what else has 2 wings?
Bird.
What else other than birds? What has two wings? What about in those flowers over there? What has two wings in the flowers?
Bugs.
Even over there, yes, bugs. What type of bugs fly? What about butterflies? Don't they have two wings?
Yeah.
So in the Quran, Allah talks about the birds flying. It's in the chapter called the bees. Yeah.
ألم يروا إلى الطير مسخرات في جو السماء ما يمسكهن إلا الله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون.
Let's do the ants go marching. Who's ready, my little ants? The ants go marching 2 by 2. Hurrah! Hurrah! The ants go marching 2 by 2. Hurrah! Hurrah! The ants go marching 2 by 2. What happened? The little one stopped. Just tie his shoe. And they all go march. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to count back down, okay? We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 16.
17, 18.
Right, 19, 20. Now we're going to count down because they can't really.
Here are our workbooks. On day 1, we do the cover only. We practice writing number 2 by first drawing and walking on a large number 2, then decorating that same 2 with sticks. We then use some Play-Doh to shape the number 2 and small chalkboards to write it. Then we fold some A3 paper, border it, write a number 2, and that's the front cover done. Here is the back side of the cover, which represents 2 by having 2 dots being joined together by a line within a circle. To practice this, we put 12 nails on an embroidery hoop and use thread to go back and forth between 2 points. We use a plate to draw the circle, then crayon to fill it in, mark 2 dots, then use the ruler to join them, and that's our workbook cover done. And now it's time for arts and crafts. I drew and cut out a template of a bird and wings. Then we painted the bird's body and some paper for the wings. Once dried, I traced the wing template onto the painted paper, then cut it out with scissors. Cut it in half, then grab the wings and fold down the edge and glue them onto the body, making sure they're symmetrical. Pierce 2 holes on the back of the bird, thread it, and you've got yourself a flying bird.
Hey, Duffy, what are you doing?
Okay.
That evening, I drew the chalkboard that will accompany tomorrow's lesson about opposites. I used my 24 pack of Faber-Castell pastels and start by drawing a circle that will become the sun. Then I draw the outline of a crescent moon kind of hugging the sun, and I divide the sky into night and day. I use blue to outline the edges of the moon and then some black. Now I fill in the sun with yellow, starting from the inside radiating out, then I outline with some orange. I blend everything using my fingertips. Now I start to draw the flames of the sun. I then use cloth to wipe away the underlayer and use some orange and yellow to fill in the flames. I use white to fill in the day sky, then I blend it, then I add some blue waves. Now for the night, I use dark blue to fill in the sky. I begin to draw stars in white, then fill them in with yellow, and I also add dots and flowy white waves. Finally, I use white to outline the sun and the moon.
Yeah, you guys are going to play with this while we start the lesson, okay? Everyone quiet, listen. Birds. So what do birds have that's 2?
2 wings.
2 wings. What else do they have that's 2? They have 2 feet, 2 legs, right?
They also have like a beak that opens and then there's 2 like
Well, yes, that's right. There's 2 parts of their beak. The upper part and the lower part. What else do they have? They have 2 eyes. What other animals have 2 feet?
Bear.
A giraffe has 4 feet. What has 2 feet? What about kangaroos? Do they have 2 legs?
Yeah. 2 legs and
Right?
Them have 2 arms.
And they have 2 arms. That's right. Another thing that's 2 is opposites. Guys, the red light means stop.
Stop.
Now what's the green light for?
Go.
It means go, right? It tells the cars to go. See, these are opposites. See? They're opposites. Now look. Now here's a girl, baby girl here. Here's a baby boy. Girls and boys are opposites.
And also twins.
And twins are something that's two, right?
Yeah.
Two babies are twins.
And also
Now here we have two hands. But look at the opposite. There's a left hand
or right hand.
and the right hand. This is up. What's the opposite of up?
Down.
Down. There you go. Now you got it. And look, this is a black arrow. What's the opposite?
Right.
A white arrow. Good job. Now, Mariam, look at this. What is this?
A giraffe.
Right. And a giraffe is very
Tall.
right. And look at this mouse. What is this mouse? Is very tiny, very short. Okay, so all of these are what, guys? These are opposites. Allah says in the Quran, Surah Yusuf, ayah 6, okay, verse 6, he says,
إن في اختلاف الليل والنهار وما خلق الله في السماوات والأرض لآيات وما خلق الله في السماوات والأرض لآيات لقوم يتقون.
I have a story for you guys about opposites. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. So once upon a time, there was a king. And the king had two sons. He had Prince Aqil, and this is Prince Nabil. Prince Aqil was older, and Prince Nabil was younger. Prince Aqil had fair skin, and Prince Nabil had darker skin. Prince Aqil was thin and tall, and Prince Nabil was fat and short. Prince Aqil was rude, and Prince Nabil was polite. Prince Aqil used to say, "I'm a prince. I don't need to work." So he was lazy. Okay? And Prince Nabil was hardworking, and he always helped people. One winter, all the people in the village got sick. And Aqil said, "I am healthy. I don't care about anyone." And he always stayed inside the castle. But Prince Nabil, he went outside and helped the people in the cold. The people used to say, "Prince Nabil is kind and he's bright." But the people used to say about Prince Aqil that he's dull and cruel. Old people and the young people, the poor people and the rich people, all liked Nabil, but they all disliked Aqil. And then one day, Nabil, he went east, west of the kingdom. He went north, and then he was going south, okay? And when he went south, you know what he found? He found a small apple tree with big apples. Yeah. And next to that tree was an old house with a new door. And Nabil, he went to the house, okay? And he was going to knock on the door, and then the door opened, and there was a little girl and a little boy. And they said, "Hello, Prince Nabil. How can we help you?" And Nabil said, "I started my journey early in the morning, and now it's late at night, and I'm so hungry. Can I grab some apples, please?" And so they helped him to pick some apples. He ate a few there, and he took many back with him to the castle. When he came back to the castle, Aqil ate all the fresh apples, and he gave Nabil all the stale, yucky apples. And then the king saw that Aqil is very selfish and not caring like Nabil is. So the king the next day, he ordered, "All my people, come to the castle. I have an announcement to make." And so all the people of the village came. And the king said, I am now crowning my son Nabil to be the king of the kingdom. Even though he is younger than Aqil, he will be a better king. Remember when we did one for Allah, the only one? Remember? So the next one is two for the night and day. Okay, so we go like this. We go two for the night and day. Right, good job. So let's start it from the beginning. One for Allah, the only one. Two for the night and day. Okay, one, two,
3, 4,
5, 6.
7,
1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, open, shut them, open, shut them. Give a little clap, clap, clap. Open, shut them, open, shut them. Lay them on your lap. Big and small, big and loud. Be quiet.
loud,
Be quiet. Loud, 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 loud. Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, yes, yes. And slow. Slow, slow, slow. Did it. See, this
Now it's time for arts and crafts. Using wet on wet technique, we are painting the day and the night sky on some 300-gram watercolor paper. We divide the paper using masking tape. Then we add salt grains to the night sky to create stars. Sadly, some of the dark sky color still bled through to the other side. We also used tissue to lift up some of the dark blue color to make the moon. I then drew and painted another picture representing both themes of number 2.
Do you remember what Arabic number 1 looks like, Omar? It's just a line, right? Now, number 2 in Arabic is like this. Okay? That's number 2. And it's called Isnain. Okay, guys, this is the number 2 in Roman. Do you remember the story of the shepherd and the sheep? So many sheep, but he only has 10 fingers. So then he thought he's going to use sticks to count them. Okay? So that's how they made the Roman numbers.
In our workbooks, we broke up the number 2 into 3 lines or parts and used this wooden manipulative and a popsicle stick to practice writing number 2. Then we wrote Ithnain, or number 2 in Arabic, but prior to that my child used a wooden tray filled with salt and a popsicle stick to practice writing it beforehand. Moving on to Roman numerals. Here is the page we wrote, and the kids used sticks to practice making it. Now, the last page we did in our workbooks on day 2 was the written form of number 2, and we used our small chalkboards to practice beforehand. On our number 2 table display, I have this custom handmade double-sided wooden slice where you place marbles on one side and where a number is engraved on the other side. I purchased the set of 9 numbers for 15 Australian dollars. Then we have this vintage wooden domino with 2 dots, number 2 of spades card, 2 magnetic balls with a joining middle magnet orange piece. We have a 10-cent coin showing the queen's head on one side and tail feathers on the opposite side. We will use this coin later in a game. We have these 2 gorgeous wooden spinning tops. I have this DIY wooden 2-centimeter rod that I made in a video along with these painted wooden slices and all the other accompanying manipulatives. We have this wooden number 2 that's part of a wooden puzzle I purchased from Kmart years ago. We have these 2 gorgeous fall leaves that we collected on our morning walk. And here we have these 2 princes from our opposite story. They are actually part of a set of dolls I made in a tutorial representing our blended Muslim family. And finally, we have a beeswax number 2. All the other items on our display will be shown later in the video. On day 3, we went outside and my son rode his 2-wheeled bicycle. Then we went on a little scavenger hunt where the kids had to find things in nature that are opposites, such as something tall like a tree and something short like a mushroom, something rough and something smooth. something bright and something dark. We then came inside, where I had prepared 12 dominoes, 6 that had dots that when either added or subtracted equaled 2, and 6 that didn't. He then drew the 2-dotted domino in his workbook. Now, the next exercise he did in his workbook is about making patterns. There is an alternating pattern between 2 colors. Then we have 2 orange dots followed by 2 yellow dots pattern. Then doubles followed by a single dot pattern. The manipulative used to enhance this exercise is a large egg tray and some marbles. As he drew the dots, he placed a marble into the tray. Another way to practice patterns is to place the tray beside the workbook and then have the child add the right color marble that came next. On the following page, we have a number ladder. I have a tutorial where I make this ladder as a visual representation of how numbers escalate and increase the higher you go. Next up, we have a number line. He first practiced walking a number line where I stuck masking tape on the floor tiles and wrote the even numbers larger than the odd numbers, and also drew dots besides the even numbers. This idea was inspired by Susie Kuhn's movement maths rug.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
He also hopped on one leg on odd numbers and jumped with 2 feet on the even numbers. He then practiced the number line using the skip counter manipulative that I made, where he wraps pipe cleaners around every second peg doll, basically learning to skip count by 2s. The link to the tutorial will be in the description. Next, we drew a clock with its hands at 2 o'clock and used this little wooden time activity box that I bought from Lidl as a manipulative. On this page, we drew a multiplication ring or circle skip counter. And the accompanying manipulative for this exercise is the circle skip counter that I made, where you wrap thread around every other head starting at 0, and the numbers end up being the multiples of 2. And lastly, we drew our DIY rods that we made in a tutorial showing 2 ways to make 2 using addition. One way being to add 1 plus 1, the other being to add 2 plus 0. And the workbook is done. In this closing activity, I placed on the table these 6 different sets of DIY cards that I made as a fun way to revise the various ways to write 2. And so my son has to collect all 6 number 2 cards.
Flick, go.
Oh. Is it? It's tails. Okay, Yubi, you have to do 10 jumping jacks. Now I'm going to show you how I bind our workbooks using a simple saddle stitch technique. Start off by clipping the pages together so that they are all aligned and won't move. Then measure and mark 5 spots equally spaced apart. I marked the first spot 4 centimeters from the top and then marked 4 more spots 5 centimeters apart. Now grab a pin and pierce through the pages on all the marked spots, being careful not to hurt yourself. Now grab a threaded needle and push through the center hole from the inside of the book. Then enter your needle into the nearest hole from the outside, then into the last hole of that same side and pull tightly. Now you're going to re-enter the previous hole, but from the outside in. Then re-enter the center hole from the inside out. Then repeat the same process on the opposite side. Okay, so now we're going to tie a knot on the outside, then re-enter the center hole and tie another knot on the inside. Snip the thread, leaving about 1 centimeter, and your book is done. I hope you found benefit in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and why not consider subscribing? Also, please feel free to ask me any questions or comment down below. Links to the stories, songs, and tutorials will be listed in the description box. And as always, thanks for watching.